Yeah, so that's Sam Witwicky, and he's currently having a mental breakdown in the middle of his class. You see, this all started when he touched a sliver of the Allspark, and throughout the film, he would have several breakdowns where he would see and write down various Cybertronian symbols. However, not even halfway through the film, these breakdowns just abruptly stop. And by the very end of the movie, Sam is no longer seeing these symbols. However, a bigger question I don't see anybody ask is why did Sam not tell Optimus that he was seeing these symbols? Since if he did, the events of the movie would have quite literally altered, because the Autobots would have been able to guard him from the various Decepticons who were trying to peek inside his brain, meaning that Optimus Prime wouldn't have been ambushed in that forest, allowing him to survive. And if you think about it, the Decepticons wouldn't really have a chance at all, since the Autobots held all the cards if only Sam told them about these pesky symbols. So then was all of this just some pesky plot hole that the writers intentionally overlooked in order to tell the story that they wanted? Or is there some deeper meaning here that allows all of this to make complete sense? Well, if you've been watching this channel for a while now, you would know that there's always a deeper meaning to stuff like this. And today's video is going to be all about straightening out the inconsistencies with the symbols in Sam's head. So without further ado, let's get to it.
These vivid symbols, they're symbols, but they're in my mind. You see, all this is in my mind.
Alright, so as we know, Sam started seeing these symbols after a piece of the Allspark imprinted a large collection of ancient Cybertronian knowledge into his brain. As for how he got this shard, it fell out of the sweater that he wore during the Battle of Los Angeles. Now, though we never saw any piece of the Allspark fall out of Megatron's chest when Sam shoved the Allspark into it, it's not impossible that a piece could have came loose and landed in his sweater, since when Optimus went to examine Megatron's dead body, he was able to pull out a loose fragment of the Allspark that wasn't fully destroyed. As for how the shard was able to stay hidden in the sweater for 2 years, this can be easily explained away by the fact that Sam never washed or wore it after the final battle, since he kept it as a trophy in his closet, evident by the dirt stains from the first movie carrying over, and this line from the film.
You want the infamous D-Day shirt?
You kept your nasty shredded clothes?
Yeah, of course I kept it, Michaela. It's like my Super Bowl jersey. I bled in this thing.
Now, you might be wondering why the Allspark decided to imprint the entire recorded history of the Cybertronian race into Sam's brain. And well, we learn from The Fallen that the cube is merely a vessel, but its power and knowledge can never be destroyed, with it only being able to transform itself. And since the Allspark was now reduced to mere fragments, the knowledge inside of it decided that Sam's brain was the next best thing, and burnt a copy of itself into it. Now, the effects of this transfer would cause Sam to go nuts 3 separate times in the film, with each episode progressively getting worse. The first time Sam went nuts would be when he was at his frat party. You see, after looking at the cake, he started seeing Cybertronian symbols, and proceeded to write down what he saw using the cake's frosting. His next breakdown would happen during his Astronomy 101 class, where he was able to read Professor Colin's 903-page astronomy book in 32.6 seconds, and then went on a rant about an expedition led by Sentinel Prime, which took 14 galactic convergences to receive an echo, while writing down various Cybertronian symbols. After getting kicked out of class for his behavior, his last and final breakdown in the film would happen when returning to his dorm, where he started to write symbols all over the room, as well as some on his arms. And when Leo and Alice came in, he went on a rant about a terrible song that constantly repeats itself. Now, something interesting here is that between his first and second breakdown, Sam goes on to meet with Bumblebee and Optimus Prime. However, for some reason, he decides to say nothing about the symbols that he saw to them. And even when Optimus Prime talks about the Allspark shard that was stolen from Nest, Sam still says nothing, and doesn't even mention that he has access to another Allspark shard. Now, as for the reason why Sam did not tell Prime and B about the shard he had access to is something that truly deserves its own dedicated video, since it's a major plot hole in this film that also ties into the plot hole of why Sam did not just use the shard to revive Optimus. So stay tuned for when I explain that. But to explain why Sam didn't mention anything about seeing the symbols to his Autobot friends, that's because he didn't recall them. Now, you might be wondering how in the world would Sam forget something like that? And well, you see in the film, Sam only appears to immediately recall one of his breakdowns after it happened, that being the one that he had in Professor Colin's class. And we know this since in the film, shortly after he had this breakdown, he goes on to call Michaela and tell her what happened to him, with him then coming to the realization that he had been seeing symbols ever since he touched the cube splinter. So then, why did Sam go on to immediately remember this breakdown but not his previous one? And well, it appears that it all comes down to if Sam is able to recover from his breakdown by himself or not. You see, during the breakdown that he had in astronomy, he was able to snap out of it by himself, and as we know, he was able to recall everything that happened to him. However, during the breakdown that he had at the frat party, while he was in his trance, Alice asked him a question which caused him to snap out of it. However, unlike in the case where he goes on to remember, here he goes on to act like nothing happened and only recalls of the event shortly after his second breakdown. So, based on all of this, I theorize that if Sam is interrupted during one of his trances, he doesn't recall anything that happened, but if he's able to snap out of it by himself, he will be able to recall everything. And this theory can be further proven if we take a look at his third and final breakdown. You see, when rambling to Leo and Alice, Sam accidentally knocks over a table, causing a loud noise which snaps him out of his trance, and he goes on to act like nothing happened. Now, a cool detail that happens for only his second and third breakdown is that a sound plays when his trance is over, and interestingly enough, the sound that plays when Sam is able to break out of it by himself is a lot calmer than the one where he's interrupted.
I can't be the only one in the class.
Young man.
This is the part that... Okay, what were you saying?
As for why there's no sound that plays when he snaps out of his first breakdown is unknown. So now, if we circle all the way back to the question of why Sam did not tell the bots about the symbols he was seeing, we now know that the reason why Sam said nothing was because he didn't remember it. However, now this leads us to another unanswered question, that being, why did Sam not have any more breakdowns? And well, there's one scene in the film that can explain how Sam got cured. You see, shortly after his third and final breakdown, Sam was captured by the Decepticons, and when the Decepticon medic Scalpel examined him, he ordered one of his assistants to scan Sam's brain for information related to the location of the Tomb of the Primes. Afterwards, Scalpel was able to extract the data his assistant had collected. During this scene, Sam mentions that those are the exact same symbols he has been seeing.
Oh, there they are.
That's what I'm seeing in my head.
Now, you might be wondering how exactly Scalpel's assistant was able to cure Sam from his breakdowns. And well, remember how the Fallen said that the Allspark's information can be transformed? Well, Scalpel's assistant was able to transfer a portion of the information the shard had imprinted in Sam's brain into itself, thus removing that information from Sam, curing him from his mental breakdowns which were caused by the shard overloading his mind with Cybertronian knowledge. Now, though the assistant would be able to cure Sam from his breakdowns, some of the Allspark's information was still in his mind. This is why Scalpel needed Sam's brain on a table so he could extract the rest of the information that was left. And as we all know, Bumblebee and Optimus were able to save Sam before Scalpel could conduct brain surgery. Now, throughout the rest of the film, Sam was able to see Cybertronian symbols, evident by him mentioning it several times throughout the movie.
These, the symbols that have been rattling around in my head?
Okay, and that these symbols, the maps in my head would lead me there.
I do this all day. It comes in waves, these vivid symbols. They're symbols, but they're in my mind.
The voices and the symbols in my head led us here.
However, by the end of the film, Sam stops talking about the symbols, alluding to the fact that he was no longer seeing them. And since this plot point was never brought up again, it's safe to say that he was now fully cured. But how? Well, originally in the film, there was going to be some dialogue that would have explained how Sam got cured. You see, in the movie adaptation comic and a novelization of the film, which both used earlier drafts of Revenge of the Fallen script to tell their stories, after the final battle ended, Sam would go on to tell Optimus that he was no longer seeing symbols, and Optimus would respond by saying that the reason why is because they were absorbed into the Matrix. As for why this crucial piece of a dialogue got cut from the film is unknown. However, you now might be wondering when exactly did the symbols in Sam's head go inside the Matrix? And well, during the events leading up to the final battle, Megatron was able to mortally wound Sam by blasting him. While paramedics tried to reanimate him, the Matrix dust spilled across his hand. and Sam's soul was transported to some unknown place, where he was able to meet the 6 Primes. They told him that he was destined to earn the Matrix and save the life of the last Prime. The Primes then used their combined energy to revive Sam. Now, we never got an official explanation as to where Sam went to. However, I theorize that he went inside the Matrix of Leadership. Now, if you think that theory sounds a little bit silly, allow me to explain. As we know, the symbols in Sam's head somehow ended up in the Matrix, meaning that the symbols had to be transferred into it. When Sam met the Primes, they told him that the Matrix is not found. It is earned. And if we take a look back at the film, when Sam found the Matrix, it disintegrated into dust. However, when he risked his life to revive Optimus and subsequently got killed, the Primes felt that he earned the Matrix, reviving Sam and restoring the Matrix of Leadership to its former glory. The Primes are clearly in some way spiritually connected to the Matrix, proven by the fact that they can destroy and regenerate it at will. And considering that the Matrix dust spilled across Sam's hand as he died, I theorize that the Primes were able to use their power to transport Sam's soul into the Matrix so they could talk to him. And when they revived him, they were able to remove the rest of the Allspark's knowledge that was in his brain and transfer it into the Matrix, allowing Sam to be completely cured so he could live life once again.